Hello, hello, hello. Let's do a brief chat about Akata Warrior by Nydia Corafor. This is book number 2 in the Akata Witch series, starting off with Akata Witch. This is 2017. It's basically just a straight continuation of the first one, which is also named Sunny Saw in the Flame, where Sunny, a Nigerian-born but American-raised young woman who's albino, is albino, has returned to Nigeria, is living there, but is sort of feeling that divide of being neither American nor Nigerian. When she finds out through friends that Orlo and Chi-Chi, that she is a leopard person, that she has magical abilities. Her magical abilities being kind of, she can slide into the spirit world, slide different places. It's a world of lots of different kind of weird, interesting magical abilities. There's a lot of books in these series, books where you have to kind of learn how to read them. They're text which squiggles and moves and has a variety of different levels and layers to it. She learns about her own family history. She never knew anything about her maternal grandmother, who turns out is indeed a leopard person. There's a big bad in this thing. There are various teachers. She ends up going to school. And the first book sort of ends with, oh, we beat a villain, but of course turns out he's a secondary villain, and dies a fairly kind of gruesome death to unleash, surprise, surprise, in this book, the big bad villain, the larger spirit villain of this thing. And as with the last book, the first book, I felt like we suddenly got to the end and we had a confrontation and it was over. And in this book, it's a little bit better that way, but it also seems to weirdly meander. I guess this is a longer book. I listened to this in audio, so I didn't feel that as much, but you can feel the kind of structural bagginess of it, and just how it kind of winds down at the end after the final thing. There's sort of a lack of narrative tension in these books. There's no point where I felt particularly concerned about Sunny and her friends. I mean, maybe a part of this is it's a YA or middle grade book, but and you kind of vary between what age group these kids are in. They're numerically, they're supposed to be quite young, but they seem quite mature in other ways. Definitely having fairly intense relationships, going night clubbing. Just the level of violence in these books, violence just in the magical realm, but between her Sunny and her parents, the threat of violence. There's interesting attitudes in the book towards African Americans, very looked down upon. And this is coming from both, the Nigerians in the book, but also a character, Sasha, one of her coven one of her friends, is an African American who kind of has a couple of things to say about African Americans being hurt and shut off and not open to the world, which was, it's like, I'm a white Canadian dude. I have nothing to say about that other than to think, I wonder what other people what people who are maybe African Americans have to say about this, or black people around the world. So there's that. I mean, it brings up lots of interesting stuff. There's some good writing in here, but there's also just like weird structural things, which, you can go it from the thing of like, well, she's playing three-dimensional chess. She's way ahead of me. I just don't get it. Or, that she's tried for something, but it's not particularly sticking. And I mean, I think I can't judge what she's trying to do. All I can judge by is what the effect it has on me. And I found myself kind of strangely detached from the book of the thing. It's like I care about Sunny and her friends and the stuff they go through. Some of the times they act pretty stereotypical, but other times you think, oh, okay, this is, it's from Sunny's point of view. So she's only getting kind of one certain level, and sometimes there is deepening understanding of characters. Um, and I like kind of, there's a very kind of feminist angle here about Sunny being a girl in a very kind of patriarchal society. There's her difference, which, albinism is supposedly, it should give her, there should be certain restrictions, like she can't play in the sun, but this gets magically cured. And I can't take advantage, take credit for noticing that, but that was actually probably a Goodreads article, a Goodreads review. I said, like, oh, so great, she has albinism, but it gets magically cured, so she can play in the sun now. Which, it's like, oh, well, that's a great message to anybody who has albinism and has certain restrictions in their life and has to work around them. It's like, well, there's magic in this book, so you don't have to. Which, taking that the book does take a lot of other kind of challenges and stuff like that seriously and kind of work them in metaphorically, that seemed like a bit of a slip. Once that was pointed out to me, as somebody who, well, I play in the sun and I fall over, so I just put a hat on. So obviously I've got no fucking clue. So yeah, I'm pretty mixed on this series. Theoretically, there might even be a third book. Nydia Okorafor is taking her time. I think the first one was published in 2011. This one was published in, I think, 2017. So it's not exactly, you can tell it's not a commercial book for Nydia Okorafor, because a commercial YA trilogy, you'd be pounding these out year. If even that, they'd be even quicker. They'd be even quicker together. This is obviously something that's Nydia Okorafor, being someone who has both ties in America and Nigeria. So very much you can see that there's sort of some personal stakes here, personal stuff that she might be working out here. She's working on it very slowly. I just wish that the story was better, because in some ways, because it's not hooked firmly to kind of a story engine, even though it kind of makes gestures towards, like, kind of a Harry Potter kind of structure, it doesn't really follow up with those, because maybe Okorafor isn't interested in that, but that strangely just sort of disconnects me from the text. And you get good writing and beautiful descriptions and stuff like that. But if there's not a story there, at least for me to kind of hold it in my mind, I find it kind of all kind of flits away pretty quickly. She is an interesting author. I just don't know if this is particularly the series that is ever going to get her purchase in the world. And maybe there'll be a number 3 and this will somehow knit together. But the thing is, it just doesn't seem to go from the book 1 was sort of not dissatisfying as a standalone on its own. This one, you have to go back to the first book to actually kind of understand what's going on, because it's such a direct continuation. But this one is still sort of unsatisfying for me, narratively speaking, even though there's lots of points in here that I really enjoy. So yeah, and there's also this thing I mentioned at the beginning that it was called What Sunny Saw in the Flame. I think that's the correct title, in other markets, in the UK and in Nigeria. And that's apparently because Akata is a slur used against people who from the United States. It's like it's not a pleasant term. It's a slur, so they didn't want to use it on the book titles in those markets. But so, but and indeed in Akata, in this Akata Warrior, Sunny recounts a terrible experience of being bullied, and her, in her anger, using the term Akata witch on somebody else, so it's a slur. I don't know if she's trying to reclaim it by putting it on as the title of the novel. Whether that was her decision, what her preferred title is. But especially as some white dude in Canada, again, it's like, have I been using a slur all this time? I'm talking about the title of a book, but that might be hurtful to other people, and I guess I have to acknowledge that, even if as I'm talking about the book. Yeah. So on that that note, I will leave it off. Other than to say, I'm going to read more Agnedia Corafor and wrestle with her as a author. So something that she's doing interesting stuff with the genre, a mixing of genre of storytelling techniques. Perhaps I'm not quite sure. Is she a genius or is she not good at this? It could be one of the two. I'm not convinced. I'm not. I haven't made up my mind yet, so I would like to read more by her and hopefully remain confused, or hopefully come to the opinion, wow, how amazing she is, and how I didn't get it. I would be quite happy with that. That would be the best outcome. All right, more videos later.